Yizkor is the moment when memory comes rushing in. We think about those we loved, the fullness of their lives, and the ache of their absence. The Hebrew poet Chaim Nachman Bialik gave us words that feel like they were written for this very hour. In his poem Acharei Moti, After My Death, which is in our Machzor, he writes, B'terem eto meta ish hahu, v'shir chayav nifsak b'chatzi. Before their time did this person die, and the song of their life was interrupted in the middle. Bialik knew what it was for a song to be interrupted. He was born in 1873 in what is now northwestern Ukraine. He was orphaned young. His father died when he was just 7 years old. His mother couldn't care for him, and he was raised by his grandfather. He studied at the great Volozhin Yeshiva, but he left that world behind for cosmopolitan Odessa, becoming one of the great voices of modern Hebrew. Bialik was not only a poet, he was a leader of the Hebrew Renaissance. His essays, poems, and stories helped shape modern Hebrew into a living, breathing language. He became a central cultural figure in the Zionist movement, giving a people returning to its land a modern literature, a voice, and a soul. And then in 1934, Bialik died suddenly of a heart attack at just 61 years old. Even for a man who had given us so much, it felt as if his melody had been cut short. The poet who wrote of unfinished songs died with his own music unfinished. The truth is, no matter how long those we love live, we often feel like there was another song in them, or that their song was somehow cut short. Even those who live rich and meaningful lives into their 80s, 90s, even 100s, filled with family and legacy, so often leave us yearning for more of their music. I think of my own Grandpa Joe, whom I spoke about on Rosh Hashanah. He died at 82, more than half a life, to be sure. And yet when he died, it felt to us as if his song was cut short. And then there are those whom we lost objectively before their time. I think of my mother, about whom I spoke last year, who died at just 59. That feels half done. A song that ended in the middle of a verse, a melody silenced before it could reach its ultimate crescendo. And then, of course, there are the unspeakable losses. Children, young parents, those in the very prime of their lives. In those moments, the song doesn't just feel unfinished, it feels torn away. So how do we carry on? How do we move forward when the music stops too soon? For me, the answer is found in two places, in community and in our tradition. We come together at Yizkor not only to remember, but to remind one another that we do not grieve alone. When my melody falters, I can hear yours. When your song loses momentum in a time of grief, the community can carry you until you find your voice again. And our tradition gives us hope that memory itself has power. We are a people who has always believed that nothing is truly gone if it is remembered. The Torah commands us, Zachor. Again and again, we are told to remember Shabbat. We are told to remember that we were slaves in Egypt and that God brought us out with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. To remember in Judaism is not just to think back, it's to make the past present, to give it power in our lives today. When we remember the Exodus, we don't just recall an ancient story, we step into that story. We say in the Haggadah, in every generation, each of us is obligated to see ourselves as if we personally came out of Egypt. Memory collapses time. It makes the past alive in us now. That is why we recite Yizkor. From the word Zachor. To say Yizkor is not only may God remember, but may we remember. And in remembering, may we keep our loved ones alive. And the poet Bialik, well, he's proof of this. He became the national poet of Israel after his death, which happened on July 4th, 1934, years before the state came into being. His words, his unfinished music continue to inspire a people. Nearly a century later, we are still reading his lines, still moved by his song. That is what memory does. It keeps the music alive long after the singer is gone. It allows us to carry unfinished melodies forward, to weave them into our own lives, to make them part of the larger symphony of the Jewish people. Acharei moti kacha tispeduli. Haya ish v'hinei einenu od. B'terem eto met ha'ish hahu v'shir chayav nifsak b'chatzi. After my death, this is how you will mourn for me. You will say, there was a man, and behold, he is no more. Before his time did this man die, and the song of his life was interrupted in the middle. And woe, she had yet one more song, and now that song is lost forever. But there's one part of the poem that I want to argue with Bialik about. At the end of the poem, he writes, Oy lashir she'avad, woe for the song that was lost. But it's not lost. Not completely, and maybe not at all. Bialik was wrong. Certainly about his own songs. We still have many of them, and we know so much about his life, and we continue to recite them and sing them. And this is true so often about those we love. The memories we carry, the stories, the teachings, that's how the song continues. Even when the singer is gone, the music plays on. And sometimes a person's death makes their legacy even more vivid and lasting, because those left behind to preserve it are drawn to their sense of love and duty to do so. So often, the very most important parts of our loved ones' lives become magnified in their deaths. And maybe it's even more than that. Maybe nothing is ever really lost. The physicists tell us the first law of thermodynamics: energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form. Perhaps the same is true with us. Perhaps the ripple of a life, the echo of a voice, the love once given never disappears. If not remembered by people, then perhaps it's remembered by God. Maybe the great conductor of the universe weaves even the hidden melodies into eternity. None of our lives will feel complete. Most of our songs will end, if not in the middle, maybe just towards the end, but not quite at the end. But maybe they were never meant to be complete on their own. When we think of our world in a more communal fashion, our individual song, short as it may be, unfinished even, is part of a much grander piece, a concert, an orchestra, a symphony. One voice may fall silent, but the music continues. And when we remember, when we live out their values, when we pass on their love, their song becomes part of the larger score. And now, as we prepare for our personal Yizkor prayers, I invite you to take a moment. Think about someone who is gone. Think about the song or the songs that person wrote, the melodies that were interrupted. They aren't here to sing those songs anymore, but the music never dies. It is still with us. A beloved parent, a cherished spouse, a best friend. Whomever it may be, their song is part of your song. Their music continues to play in your life.
שירות חיה באמצע נפתחה וצור עוד מזמור אחד